Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another year of the OS World Cup. We started off last weekend with our qualifiers Mappool showcase, and we are officially back. They have been run through and completed. All 53 teams appearing for qualifiers this year, playing their 2 runs, ranging from Thursday all the way until 19 UTC today. They are now completed, and we have our top 32 seeded teams, as well as our non-qualifying teams. I am Chili Repair, one of your organizers for the OS World Cup this year. I will be joined for this showcase by Azer and Demarsh. Looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a good time to go through the seed reveals. There's always a bunch of surprises in there, so I think there's at least one major surprise in here for everybody.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing just the reactions really on some of these teams, because there is some good performances and there are some phenomenal performances from certain teams. But again, those will be later on. But we have quite a few teams to go through, don't we, Chilia?
Yes, we do. So we're going to run through the non-qualifying teams first. As usual, we'll run through 53 through 33 first. These are the teams that played qualifiers and unfortunately will not be joining us in the bracket stage this year. We're going to run through them relatively quickly. Nothing against the teams down here, but we do want to have a little bit of extra time to cover the teams that did qualify. So without further ado, we are going to be starting off the showcase this year with our 53rd qualifying team. It's going to be Switzerland. A little bit worse than last year, 42nd in terms of qualifying teams. We did have 3 more teams this year than last year, by the way, so we went from 50 teams to 53rd. Switzerland going to be bringing up the 53rd spot this year. Next up, going to be Team Croatia, placed 45th last year. They'll be taking the 52nd spot this year. Lost a couple of players from the previous year. Going to be going rebuilding next time. That is our 52nd seeded team. Slovakia up next, number 51. Placed 40th last year. Again, a little bit of a downgrade from that time. We have a 1.3 million team score average for Slovakia this year. We'll run over those as well. Next up, going to be our 50th seeded team, placing the exact same spot as last year, Colombia, with a 1.347 million team average on the board. No plus or minus for them this year. Next up, in our 49th spot is going to be Austria. A pretty decent drop for them this year, losing a lot of their top end of the roster, falling out of the qualifying teams from 30th all the way to the 49th seeded spot. Unfortunate to see them go this year. 1.49 million team score average. Next up, a new team returning from 2016, Team Greece. They did not pass group stage back in 2016. This is their first time joining us for the World Cup in qualifiers, placing 48th, not going to be making it through this year. Wish them luck in next year should they come back out this time around. They didn't have Riven for qualifiers. Very unfortunate for them, one of their better players. Next up, 47 seeded team Belarus. This is their first time appearing in OWC, so big congratulations. Yes. Very true. So their first time coming out, 47 seed. A little bit of a push for next year. It's going to be next up with a Konam DTFC as well. What Azer was mentioning, don't want to skim over that. Their number 672 ranked player putting up an FC on the double time. Not very impressive from them.
It's a pretty noteworthy performance considering most players on the teams that are placing around this time just don't have a single FC. So good job for at least one.
Big recognition for that. It's always good to see a player with a lot of potential here. Maybe enough potential to push them up a little bit higher for next year. Next up, going to be Team 45, Latvia. Most notably, Akolabed on this roster, putting up some pretty serious performances for them in qualifiers. Unfortunately, not quite enough to bring them to a qualifying spot. They placed 48th last year. A little bit of an improvement from them. Maybe a little bit more improvement next year. Going to push them up into a qualifying spot. 44th place is next up. It is Team Hungary, another team exactly the same as Team Colombia, placing in the same place from last year, 44th. We are up to a 1.8 million team score now on these teams right here with Team Hungary. That is 44. Next up, 43, another team that is one of our new showings for this year. It's Kazakhstan. This is their first time playing the OS World Cup ever. They are not a returnee from the group stage years. And Kamenshik with some pretty impressive performances.
Yeah, no, seriously. For again, similar thing. Kamenchik putting up 3 separate full combos: Nomad 2, Nomad 4, and DT1. I'm pretty impressed by that, considering I think it's their first time in OWC as well. I think also technically Kazakhstan signed up last year but did not play or something like, or could not schedule a match or something like that. So, technically the first time.
Yeah, technically their first time with a placement in the tournament, not being able to show up to qualifiers last year. A little bit of an unfortunate situation. But yeah, Nomad 2, Nomad 4, and a DT1 FC from Kamenshik. A very impressive performance again from a non-qualifying team player. Next up in 42nd is going to be a fairly old returning team here, Bulgaria, 42nd seed. Their last appearance in the World Cup was in group stages in 2013. So we're actually looking at a pretty significant 9-year time difference between their last appearance in the World Cup. So very impressive and very good to see them returning again for the tournament this year. Unfortunately, not joining the bracket stage, but a good showing from them. Number 41 is next up. It's Team Lithuania. They placed 37th last year, so they've dropped just a little bit. Some good players on this team. Have to note players like Shinaru and BZE and Nitrem, and a lot of, Fibeth even too, ZDef, a lot of known tournament players on this team. Unfortunately, just not enough to push them to a qualifying spot. Some very, very stringent competition this year in order to make the top 8 teams. And unfortunately, no Azer 8 for Lithuania as well. So pretty rough go for them this year. Next up is our 40th seeded team. Is Team Vietnam. They placed 39th last year, relatively similar this year, just dropping a little bit. Some notable FCs from this team as well. Mizumi putting up a Hard Rock 1 FC and Realshin with a DT1 full combo. So some good performances from them on 2 of their players. Not going to be able to strut their stuff in the bracket stage as well, but coming pretty close. Maybe next year. Team 39 next up in qualifying spots is Team Uruguay. Very unfortunate. Again, another team that qualified last year that was unable to put up a similar performance to make it to the bracket stage this year. They will be falling 7 places. Very important, Kazuki K putting up a DT1 and DT3 FC for them, as well as El Milanga putting up a Nomad 2 full combo for them. So some pretty good performances from those players on Team Uruguay. Next up is Team 38, Argentina, our first of the non-qualifying teams to surpass the 2 million plus team average score marker at 2.122 million. Another team that is unfortunately not qualifying from last year. They placed 29th. Pretty comfortably within the qualifying teams, going to fall out of it this year. Consistent as a team overall through their performances here. Richo with a Hard Rock 2 FC, Zeta with a DT1 FC, and Bomilk with an MVP of a 535,000 score average for their team. So a very good, consistent player on that roster, and some decent performances. But again, competition very, very strict between these teams this year.
Something to note here, actually, is just how much of a jump there is in average scores from 39 to 38. Here is when it gets really close, actually. There is a pretty clear gap. There's a 200k gap in average score from that point onward. So every single one of these next couple teams, it's been really close.
Yeah, very true. You are not incorrect there. Uruguay, the team immediately before this at 1.997 million average score, jumping up quite a bit there. Next up, our 37th seeded team, just barely falling from last year from 36, unfortunately will not be qualifying again. It's Team Peru here. Something that absolutely has to be noted every single year, Mr. MG Hatsune Miku on this roster, also known as Arnold 24x24, full comboing Nomad 2, Hidden 2, Hard Rock 1, Hard Rock 2, Double Time 1, Double Time 2, Double Time 3. That is right, the FC'd 7 out of the 11 maps in these qualifiers this year. An absolutely ridiculous player, unfortunately not going to get to join the bracket stage once again.
The fourth highest on average score across all players, and unfortunately not qualifying, so...
I don't know if I'm remembering incorrectly, but was Arnold the top performing player in qualifiers last year? I feel like I remember his name coming up.
Yeah, I think it was a similar story.
Yeah, so Arnold's consistently one of the best players in this tournament, unfortunately not able to play a bracket stage match once again. We will continue to send our thoughts for Peru, and hopefully they are able to pull it forward in a future year. Next up, a team with a pretty notable improvement is Team Estonia. 36th place, unfortunately not qualifying, again, not making the top 32, but 43rd last year, a pretty decent improvement. Abyssal with a DT1 and DT3 FC, Cedru putting up a DT2 FC as well, both of them performing very well together across all of qualifiers this year. Good teamwork between the two of them, but they needed a little bit more from the rest of the roster to push them up those last 4 spots, and unfortunately, not going to be the year for them. Next up in 35th, it's Team Malaysia. They placed 26th last year. A team, again, falling out of a qualifying spot. Very much have to note RAM packs for the roster this year. A Nomad 1, DT1, 2, and 3 FCs. Pretty major MVP on their roster this year. Their highest ranked player by a pretty decent margin as well, ranked 157. A good baseline for next year, potentially, for them to make some improvements on that performance. Looking forward to seeing them back in future years again, maybe with some returning players. Next up, Team 34. Unfortunately, it's going to be Team Belgium. 2 spaces out. These 34th and 33rd slots are always very painful to see every single year, just barely not making qualifying placement. 41 last year, though, for Belgium, so a pretty decent improvement from them this year. Some notable scores: Hanori with a Double Time 1 FC, iBlue with a DT2 FC, and Hanori with an almost 600,000 score average across every single map. Hanori played every map for the team this year. big MVP on them, but a little unfortunate. Again, 34th spot for them, just barely missing it this year.
And
Next
the
up,
last one.
oh, this is painful. 33rd, it is the Team Netherlands. Oh. It's tragic. You really do hate to see it every single year. They placed 22nd last year. They lost a lot of good talent, especially not having Vivilium this year. They did gain a lot of players like Luciano and Skyrovania, still playing very well. Knight with a Nomad 4 almost FC and Aheo with a DT2 FC. But man, this hurts to look at every time. The 33rd spot.
And now for probably the most improved team. And the first time in OWC in a while, seed number 32 to Israel. They've managed to recover, man. Some of these players just really, really popped off. Mr. Potato, Painted Koala, and Chip just doing really, really well. Last year's placing at 47, and now they're in OWC. Congratulations.
Yeah, this is outstanding from them, really. 15 placement improvement is not something you see too often. We had a couple other teams this year, that improved by, like 11, 8 places, some pretty big margins, but this is almost double every other team's placement. So very good for them to get to 32 this year. 31 is going to be up next. It's Team Turkey. They fell a little bit from last year, but they're still going to put up a qualifying placement.
Yeah, Turkey, some fantastic scores from them this year. Hey Roni with some incredible FCs on Nomad 4 and DT1. And Gaheen Foil as well with the DT1 FC. So really strong overall DT1 performance. Look at that 17, one of their highest alongside Hard Rock 2. As well as Nomad 2 as well. They've had some pop-off performances on some of these maps that have really managed to keep them in contention this year. So some good stuff from Turkey.
Good to see from them. Moving up to 30 next is going to be the Czech Republic. 27th place last year out of qualifiers. We saw some pretty decent performances from Villazi this year. Looks like the only FC on the team on Hard Rock 2 from them. However, the team performance and the backing scores from them enough to give them a solid qualifying spot this year, and they are secured in their placement.
The Hard Rock average is pretty high considering their seed 30 at the average of 15. Quite good, so be careful if you're up against them.
Yeah, very much so, honestly. You don't normally see, we talk about these lower seeded teams with higher averages like that. So it's good to know that there are teams down here that are putting up, top 20 performances on mods. Next up, it's going to be 29th, Team Chile. If you looked at prediction streams and the roster releases, you'll know that this team lost a pretty significant part of their roster from last year to this year. They had a fantastic performance with number 4th in qualifiers. They're placing 29th this year. They actually had the biggest change in placement of any team this year, changing by 25 spots. They had some good performances from number 37, had a hidden 2 FC. Suntan put up a double time 3 FC. They actually almost had top 10 on hidden 2 as well.
I think it's pretty tragic to look at this, but honestly, it's not that bad. I think they're still a very, very good team. You can still say the same things we were saying about them last year when they're number 4. Number 37, Gonza and Suntan are still going to be pretty scary to go against. So I think they're still okay.
Yeah, they're gonna have a decent time this year. They have a very good early stage roster. A lot of this roster is some very high skilled 4-digit tournament players that will be able to hold their own on these first few stages. So best of luck to them and their upper half of the bracket opponents that we will be taking a look at a little later. Next up, it's Team 28. It is Spain. An improvement from last year. They barely qualified in 31st. They're going to be pushing up to 28th with some pretty impressive scores this year, actually.
I like that they've got that name synergy now. Very nice. But a lot of I don't think if you had to give a specific MVP for this, it's probably Antonio, who played every single map, average 650k. But there's a lot of FCs, especially on DTs, by pretty much everyone on the team. So pretty well rounded. I'd be again, I'd be very careful of their DTs. Very strong potential, and like I said, it's on like 4 different players, so you never know who's going to show up.
Yeah, some good DT performances overall is very, very cool to see. You know, the Hard Rock performance from the earlier teams we looked at, very impressive, but DT's had quite a bit of competition at the upper end this year, so it is very impressive to see them in top 20 for DT 1 and 2 in this placement. So watch out for Spain's speed this year. Next up, it's going to be team 27th place. It is Thailand with a massive improvement from last year. 11 place difference to go from not qualifying to qualifying in 27th. And we had a couple really big performances here too. Phantasma playing 9 out of 11 maps for them, averaging over 600,000.
Yeah, there was some lovely scores here. Phantasma, yeah, with the Nomad 2 FC. We had Minecrafter as well with the Hard Rock 2 FC. Tripuk Chet with the DT3 FC. Phantasma got to be the MVP on this. Played 9 out of 11 maps with a 626k average across all maps. So incredible job from Thailand to come from 30th to 27th. I'm looking forward to this team this year.
Yeah, this will be pretty cool from them to see with this much improvement. Phantasma, absolutely outstanding player in this tournament, going to be kind of good for them to see. So I think that with their improvement and the kind of roster that they have here, we mentioned with Phantasma a big performance, and then you mentioned Minecrafter and Taifuk Chep going to be another team with some more command over the map pool than people would give them credit for. They have a pretty good range, so good to see them. Next up, it's going to be Team Sweden in our 26th place, a team that had a pretty massive step up from Silla this year. 10 out of 11 maps played with a 740,000 score average from them. That is stellar.
That is some great scores from Silla there. Norts as well with the Hard Rock 1 FC for Sweden was incredible. We also had some good with both Silla and Blue coming in with Nomad 1 FCs. But again, Silla just playing absolutely insane this year is crazy good to see. And even though they don't have Reed this year, I've got high hopes. I've got really high hopes for this team. You've got to be careful on some of those maps. That Nomad 1 is deadly.
Yeah. Big aim for this roster this year. Nomad 1 and Hard Rock 1 FCs, Blue and Nots and Silla, all putting up those scores. Like you mentioned, missing Reedcat and even Couch this year is a pretty decent hit for them as a roster as a whole. I actually think if they had them, they might have been able to improve their qualifiers performance this year, but unfortunately, they're working with what they got, and they did a pretty good job of it this year. So, like you said, I'm excited to see what they're able to do in the bracket stage this time around. Next up in 25th place, another team moving from non-qualifying to qualifying is Team New Zealand. They went from 33rd to 25th this year. Not only did they not miss it this time around, but they pushed well into things this year. We had some pretty good performances from multiple players on this time. Obviously, Zoomer, the big name on this roster, 11 out of 11 maps played, a 700,000 average score. But we also had some good performances from, supporting roles on this team. Saiku on this roster, Nomad 2, Hard Rock 1, DT1 and 2 FCs. It's going down with a Nomad 2 and a DT2 FC. Zoomer FC, Nomad 3, Hidden 2, and DT3. So we've got quite a bit of impressive scores across the board here. We did mention before Sweden with a top 8 placement on Nomad 1. New Zealand's going to be a top 8 placement on Hard Rock 1 in that 8th spot there.
Yeah, I'm looking at this team, and you start to see the sort of performances you need going forward to get into this, top 24 position. You need multiple players pulling out multiple FCs on runs, just have a chance. But this team they've got certain maps that they have gone absolutely insane on. Like you mentioned, the Hard Rock 1, Nomad 2 as well as some of their DT. DT for them is really strong this year. It's great to see.
Love to go from the non-qualifying to qualifying. It is great to see every single time. Speaking of non-qualifying to qualifying, next up is going to be Team Denmark from 34th to 24th. Another 10-place improvement. Serious MVP shoutouts to Polye and I Am a Lover this year. They absolutely brought it home for this team. A Hard Rock 2 8th place finish from them, as well as some pretty solid performances on Hard Rock 1 and Nomad 2. This roster did a good job of working with what they had. The roster improvements, everyone has made some significant gameplay, upgrades from last time around. So we love to see the non-qualifying to qualifying placements here.
Yeah, I Am a Lover actually honestly just really impressive performance. When you look at the performance scores of all the players, I think they rank at 24th, above a lot of pretty significant players. So I think it's a wonderful achievement for them to play this well.
Yeah, this is a very cool thing to see. I Am a Lover, actually one of the more impressive tournament plays as of recently. I believe placed third in the Osu event 1v1 tournament, succumbing to some of the best tournament players in the world. So really, really cool to see them performing in a World Cup setting as well. Next up, it's going to be a team that plays the exact same this year as they did last year. It's Finland, once again, in your 23rd seeded spot with some stellar performances on DT3 and Nomad 2. Top 8 finishes in both of them.
Just looking forward to see Freeze snipe the MVP on all the free mods with HDHR one more year, like he usually does.
Yeah. Freezed and Amacetic, I think, kind of every year, really, really going at things in here. Expect to see some pretty good performances from players like Kodzox and Bracket Stage as well. I think that having kind of that team diversity and, what they can play is going to be something that they have a good time with. Next up, going to be 22nd seed Mexico, improving 6 places from 28th last year all the way into 22nd this time around with an absolutely hellish Nomad 2 performance. I really didn't know what to say about this when the qualifiers results were kind of shifting in. You expect to see seeds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with the top 4 placements on maps. You really don't normally expect to see a sub 16 place team with a performance like that. So if you go up against Mexico this year, ban streams, you will lose them very handedly against them. Riot, the MVP for them this year, 11 out of 11 maps played, 650,000 score average across all maps. Absolutely crazy performance from their top ranked player. But Mexico making the improvements we needed to see from them. See how they go in the bracket stage. Next up, another improvement. It's Team Ukraine, going from 24th to 21st this year. We had some pretty good team synergy on the roster this year from Ukraine.
Yeah, I think the story with Ukraine is kind of the same as last year, actually. You just saw Criterion, Dench, and Net Why Not just do super well on all of the maps together. I think it's a really good core for them. So it's good to see that they're still at it, and they've even managed to improve a little bit and managed to, again, quite similar to that Mexico score from last team. They look at this Nomad 3 score from Seed 21. It's not something that you'd expect.
Yeah, that is crazy. It is really good to see. I think we're seeing a lot of teams, kind of in these bottom 16 that have single-digit placements on at least one maps, and it's really cool that, you have these lower-seeded teams that are so good at these. Hopefully that continues. Next up, it's going to be a team with a pretty different placement from last year, going from top 8 to bottom 16. It's the United Kingdom, losing a lot of their roster from last year. They had a pretty decent amount of trouble with some of the maps in this pool compared to their previous performances. Obviously, a team a few years ago that you would have put in easily a top 3 place for the tournament as a whole. Taking their rebuilding years, they had a bit of a rough go last year, still did pretty well in the bracket stage. And this year, they've got a little bit more to prove after this qualifier's performance. A good No Mod 1 score, though. Top 10 on that.
It's kind of hard losing the greatest tournament player of all time. We gotta say it.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that with the UK that they're a team that sometimes they have a rough patch every now and then. But I still think that this is a team that definitely has the potential to go a decent way into the bracket. Yes, they don't have the star power of Bubble Man, but a lot of this team is very well balanced. They've got a lot of players that like to target specific maps and specific areas. So with the right combination on the day, they can still be quite a danger to any team, really.
Absolutely agree. They completed the hard part, which is qualifying for the tournament. Now they just have to outplace their seeding. They did have some good performances on maps. I mean, you look down at, DT and even Hard Rock, 2.5 million, 3 million plus team scores on these. It's really just stuff when you look up at like No Mod 3 and No Mod 2 compared to other scores where they really just dropped the ball a little bit on some maps, and that made a bit of a difference for them. So, maybe better in the bracket stage. Like you said, we'll wait to see what happens there. And of course, we'll get to see their opponent once we enter the top 16 teams. But next up, it's our 19th seeded team. Team Taiwan dropped just barely from 18th seed last time. This is a team that I think definitely underperformed their qualifiers just a little bit from what everyone was expecting. If you looked at pick'ems and the amount of people that placed this team potentially in the top 8 teams, it was quite a few. You see some good performances overall, 6th and 9th on DT 2 and 3, and a very impressive roster overall. To put into perspective, 30% of pick'ems put Taiwan in the top 8 placing teams this year. So I'm very excited to see what they do in the bracket stage this year, as I imagine a lot of other people are.
Listen, I have to pull from my own personal experiences here from all the World Cups that I've played and the amount of times that we got matched up against Taiwan in the first 2 rounds, and they still managed to find tiebreakers out of nowhere. Taiwan is really scary. Yeah. So good luck to whoever's unfortunate enough to actually face them in the first round.
Yeah, really. That 13th seed spot going to be facing off against Taiwan. We'll see who the unfortunate team is. Most notable performance from Taiwan this year on Dazzlewind. 9 out of 11 maps played, and across those 9 maps, an average of almost 700,000. So really good performance from the captain of Taiwan this year. Good for them. We'll move on to number 18th. I know some people are going to be excited about this one. It's Team Italy.
What the?
35th to 18. That's not something you see too often. I know we mentioned earlier a team with the most improvement being 15. Apparently that was incorrect. I didn't realize 17 placement change on Italy from 35th to 18. Shadow Modico playing 11 out of 11 maps, averaging 650,000 score. Wow.
It's kind of nice to see a return of Italy being quite a strong team here. I feel like it's been a couple of years for them. But yeah, I mean, some pretty crazy performances. I think there's a lot of unknown with this team, so I'm pretty excited to see how they end up doing.
Some very notable players on this roster that are good for late stage skill cap as well. You're running with returning players like Ryuzaki and Kirochi. Most notably for Italy this year, actually gaining Arj from San Marino. I know in previous years, Arj was unable to participate for Team Italy, but this year they're gaining a pretty solid tournament player in him. So it's very much reflected in their qualifiers performance. So they'll be facing off against our 14th seeded team when we get to the top 16. Finally, last of the bottom 16 teams, the top of the bottom 16 is our 17th seeded spot. Team Singapore, they placed 25th last year. They're going to make that improvement to 17 this time around. 8 placement improvement. They placed top 8 on 3 different maps, Nomad 4, DT1, and DT2, with Megamic FCing DTs 2 and 3 for the roster this year. There's a lot of tournament experience across this as a whole, especially not having Emilia on the roster this year for Singapore. That's I think a loss that a lot of people expected to affect them a little bit this year, and apparently didn't as much as they thought.
Yeah, you're really seeing the years start to stack up on some of these players. Demonical starting to stack up a few. GS Blank, I think now this is like the 8th World Cup I think that they're playing in, or some really high number like that. So Seal as well, I think, starting to stack up a little bit. So I think at this point we're pretty familiar with these players, but it's nice to see, I think, mostly Megamic really stepping up, I think, and kind of just getting some really good MVP plays on this team.
Yeah, this will be good to see from them as well. So a lot of good standout performances from Megamic. Hopefully it continues with some team performances into the bracket stage. That's going to do it for our bottom 16 teams. Now we move on to the top 16, averages shifting well into the mid 2.5 million plus scores. It's Japan in 16th, most notably dropping down from the top 8 last year, losing a few big players this year. Obviously, no Varvalian for Japan this time around. Really, really unfortunate to not see him for them this year, but they still did a good job making that top 16 placements. Notable performances from Tichy and Iger, going to be Tichy FCing 3 out of 3 of the DTs, every single one of them. And of course, La Plus One, Iger FCing 3 out of 4 of the Nomads. So good tandem performance from them this year, pushing to an 8th place on Nomad 3 and top 6 on DT3. That was a map with some pretty significant competition. So
yeah, I think it's great to see Japan still being able to. I know obviously their last year placing is, it's still quite a drop, but at the same time they've still got a solid team here, and that DT3 is just it's insane considering how competitive DT was this time around. So they have got some really, really strong maps in their pool that hopefully they can take advantage of in the bracket stage.
Yeah, gotta be able to move on with the performances despite having, some of your star players missing, and Japan has done a good job of, kind of recovering from the loss of Varvalian this year with some very impressive players on this roster as well. I don't want to detract from the players that they have this year. There are some insanely impressive names still up for Japan this time around. So good on them bringing up the bottom of the top 16. Next up, they brought up the bottom of the top 16 this year. They've made a slight improvement. It's Team Brazil, moving from 16th to 15th, despite losing some of their name brand players this year, most notably both Mistia and Nissan missing from the roster this time around, as well as Mouse Easy not making an appearance. But we are running with an impressive roster nonetheless. Still, we had some pretty star performances. MVP for Team Brazil this time around is actually going to be Luis, setting some ridiculous scores across every single mod category. Brazil going to be taking 4th place on Hard Rock 2, 6th place on Nomad 2, and 8th on Hidden 2.
Okay, but considering that this is basically the same placement for them without those players that you mentioned is pretty crazy. Like if you think about it, they lost all of their star players and they just replaced all of them, and they're apparently just still as good. So Brazil actually quite scary, I will say.
Yeah, they've had some serious improvement over their roster over the past year. Obviously, players like Zubs and Defons coming back and continuing to perform year after year. Checha, a good addition to the roster this time around, has proven to be a ridiculous tournament player, as well as Korean Maluko continuing to go for them. Kirito, the only player in OWC that is not within the rank range of the tournament at the present time, was of course at registrations, but is not now actually ranked up to play this tournament specifically, and is now back on his way down. But Brazil, 15th place this year, they'll be facing off against your 17th place team, which is going to be Singapore. Next up, it's going to be number 14, the Philippines. They placed 17th last year. They made an improvement from last time around. There's really not much to say about this roster other than Enri's performance was something to behold. I think everyone was kind of expecting that star performance out of the basically top 20 player, absolute spawn for tournament in terms of their performance over the past couple of months, and it is reflected very much in these qualifiers results here. The Hidden One going to be one of their better placements here in 7th place, but Nomad, can't forget the Nomad 1 and 2, 5th place in both of those slots there.
Yeah, these scores, outside of like DT's probably their area, they've got a bit of improvement to work on, but their Nomad is ridiculously solid. That Hidden One 7th place was probably it was a very tricky map. So top 7 on that map is really, really good to see from them. So you can really see we're starting to get to those teams that are just pretty much good on everything, and able to pull good performances on everything, and have got specific areas where they're just absolutely ridiculous. Their Nomad in particular is really, really good.
Yeah, you're really looking for some improvements from these teams in the top 16 here. You occasionally see a single digit placement from some of the bottom 16 teams, but once you move up to these top 16, you're really looking for some consistent performances across the board, and they are only going to get better as we continue moving through. Next up on the seedings, it's going to be 13th, Norway. They are moving from 19th place last year with some very good roster additions. Obviously have to make mention of additions of players like Nindrake, Nineric. Penguinsy is stellar on the speed this year as well, but MVPs for this roster this time around is going to be Jompa Tormen and GN. Jompa Tormen top scoring every single Hard Rock for Norway this year, and GN top scoring the hidden pool for the team this time around, as well as some good supporting performances from returning players like Marcus, Melver, and Yokespie. So Norway, big improvement. Good to see.
All I really wish for when it comes to Team Norway is that they make it far enough so that they can play the later pools. I just want to see what Yokespie and GN can do on those, man. It's always a treat.
Yeah, really, you do see them performing on the later stage stuff so much so it's always surprising. You see them in qualifiers, not barely placing top 10 on these hidden maps. You're always, kind of expecting, but it is the nature of the 4v4 and the backing team scores that are necessary sometimes. But next up, a team with some solid improvement as well. 12th seeded Team China this year, moving up 8 places from 20th last year. We've got a serious roster on our hands for China this time around. Some pretty linear switches for the roster this time around, but really, really cool to see China making improvements with this roster. Obviously, notable returnees. We've got players like Crystal on here, Milk Tea, Kurumi, David. I mean, this is a star roster, and they have, kind of come out to prove that this year. 4th place and 9th place on Nomads 3 and 4. Notably, Crystal and Fia, the 2 MVPs for China this time around, they did a fantastic job of kind of bouncing back and forth for top scores for the team this time around. So you're almost ranked 5,000 player, and one of your oldest players on your roster being the top two performers really gives you some sense of the depth of this Chinese team.
Yeah, I love some of the names that are coming out from this Chinese team as well. They're really starting to coordinate those those lovely names. But yeah, just ridiculous good scores across the board for the Chinese team. But yeah, Crystal and Fia just absolutely head and shoulders above the rest, and it's wicked to see. China they are dangerous this year. Very, very scary stuff.
Yeah, really. This team could have had a seriously good qualifiers placements if actually not for that Nomad 2 performance. Is kind of tragic from them here. Really not a favorite of the streams here. A pretty stark contrast to a team like Mexico at the bottom end of teams with that 4th place team compared to China going on to the 43rd. So we've got them kind of switching things up a bit. Next up, we are going to move to the team just outside of the top 10 this year. It is 11th seeded Romania, improving from 15th last time around. It's going to be stellar performances, MVPs out of Eternum and Badu this year as a whole for the team, both of them bouncing back and forth for good placements this time around. Satono Diamond most notably jumping into the top performers for the team this time around, taking the MVP for the Nomad pool, giving them some, kind of the majority of their qualifiers placements here. 6th, 5th, and 3rd respectively on Nomads 1, 3, and 4.
Honestly, I think this placement might be a little bit of a fluke. I'm pretty sure this team is way better than Seed 11, so it's going to be pretty rough, I think, in terms of brackets if you end up meeting them. We all know the Romania OWC incidents. We'll call it that.
The Grim Reapers.
But I mean, no, they've stepped up their game so much, and I think if they can manage to reach some of the later pools and unlock Badu a little bit, I think it's going to be really scary.
I 100% agree with you. Funny enough, actually, Romania was the first team this year to play their qualifiers all the way back on Thursday, and they maintained first place qualifiers until midway through Saturday. So this is a team that's still up there despite this 11th place seeding. They are a runner in this year for a much higher placement. I mean, we saw last year 15th, they well outplaced that qualifier seeding. So really moving up with the 11th place. I expect them to do much better this year. We're going to move into the top 10 now. It's your 10th seeded team, Team Indonesia. They are going to be dropping from 5th seed last year off of what was one of their most impressive qualifiers performance they have ever had. Still very respectable for 10th seed on Indonesia this time around. You love to see it from them. Good placements overall from their rosters. Most notable MVP is going to be Rowe, and that noob guy actually bringing up the team this year. Very notably, Indonesia with the number 1 team score on Nomad 4.
Look at how stark the strengths and weaknesses of this team are just by looking at this. You just, depending on what you're playing, you're either getting like the USA or like a team that really doesn't qualify, right? So I think, watch your picks and bans, I think. They seem to be able to do some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, I would not touch Hidden against this roster, really. Unless you're a top 3 team. I want to avoid that one. But Indonesia, very good for them. Moving slightly down, but still very respectable placement for them. Next up, it's going to be our 9th seeded team. Team Hong Kong, making improvements from the 12th seed that they had last year. This is another team I think that quite a few people potentially placed either in their top 8 qualifying teams or close to it, and they certainly made it close, just 1 spot out of the top 8 this time around, improving themselves. Not too many standout performances, kind of like we saw in Indonesia with, top 4 placements on a few maps, even number 1s, but the team consistency all around here is absolutely stellar. Top 20 on every single map, single-digit placements on 3 different picks in this pool. This is a roster that knows exactly what they're doing and exactly what they're good at, and they are going to be a force to be reckoned with in this 9th-seeded spot here. Notably, MCY, Force, Suwagi, and RLSC, top 3 performers for this roster this time around.
Yeah, just some great stuff from Hong Kong this year. They have everyone on this team is pulling their weight, and they played so many maps and had so many interchanges between maps, and yet still pulled out some incredible scores. Particularly that Hard Rock 1 score is really, really good. I definitely avoid playing Hong Kong on that unless you're, again, a top 3 team. Kind of a theme going on here, isn't there, really?
Yeah, very much so. All right. Now, something about the 8th-seeded spot we should kind of go over. This is almost a cursed spot in previous OWCs, because if anyone knows anything about bracket stages of tournaments, while the 8th-seeded placement in a tournament does not necessarily have the worst bracket, they do end up facing the number 1-seeded team very much so earlier than most other teams in the tournament. So generally this spot has a little bit of a rough go of things sometimes. And the team this time around that's going to be filling that spot, moving into the top 8, is Team France. They're going to be bringing up the coveted 8th place position in the tournament this year, improving from 10th seed from last time around. The luckiest spot in the tournament. Absolutely stellar Hidden 2 from them this time around. A 3.3 million team score, setting the number 1 placement on the map. Notable score from Justman as well. One of the highest performing players on their team, SSing the Nomad 2 to give them an improvement on their performance on that map, pushing them to 16th on that, and a 4th place on DT2 as well. So this is not just a roster that is good at one skill set. Again, they're pretty confident across the board. Only placement they had out of the top 20 was on Nomad 1, and even then just missing by 1 spot here. Obviously, returning veterans to the tournament here. Musty repeating for the 11th time, I believe, in OWC, continuing to come back. Ikoro making his return once again. Fils de Lama and Vroom Sivivit coming back for France this year as well. Some amazing roster additions.
Musty, my fellow grandpa. Always nice to see.
Yeah, the roster additions for France this year really making a difference for them. They have so many high performers this year, and it's very much so reflected in their performance. So cool to see new teams taking up these top 8 spots. Funny enough, actually, of the top 8 placements this year, there is, I believe, half of them were not top 8 last year. So if that gives, I don't know how many spoilers that gives. Hopefully not too many, but we'll continue moving through them. Next up, our first team with a 3 million plus team score. Every team after this has 3 million plus team average. It's going to be Russia, moving from 13th to 7th. Crazy improvement from them this year. We have 2nd place overall on the double time pool. Every single double time map Russia took 2nd place on. That is a performance that not a lot of teams can show for themselves on here. That is absolutely great from them. Vacman playing 10 out of 11 maps in their counted runs, most notably. So not just all of the maps played, but almost all maps played in their run that is what is counted for their qualifiers performance. So Vacman, going to be big for them this year, as well as Chikuni. Good addition from previous years, has really proven to be a great tournament player over the past year.
Yeah, something that's pretty noteworthy about this is most of the teams that are going to be around this placement will always have like one giant carry, or maybe like 2 or 3. But I mean, in the case of Russia, it kind of wasn't a one-person job. You know, it's kind of just everyone pulled their weight. Obviously, like you said, Chikuni and Vacman were up there in terms of player averages, but kind of everyone is up there. So it's a pretty scary, well-rounded team, I feel like.
Well, I am exceptionally excited to see Russia kind of I think there's been a lot of jokes about Russia in previous years because I think for the longest time Russia was almost that team that they looked so good in this tournament, and then they would almost hit semifinals every year and almost hit like the brick wall where they would always lose in semis every single time. And I think this is a pretty good chance that they have this year to maybe make an improvement on that consistent performance from them. Next up,
let's talk about carries.
Yeah, really. It's Australia. Oh, one of you can ring this one off because this is too much.
Okay, so there's a screenshot of the of the match costs of their qualifier runs, and Emrek just has twice as much as anyone else on the team, sitting in qualifiers as the highest average score of all maps, and that sits at over 1 million. Emrek has an average of over 1 million score on all maps, all 11, both runs actually, all 22 maps. But that's not to discount anybody else on the team, really. Like they really showed up on. Obviously, the team is not just Emrek. It's good that there's a lot of support around him. I think they really built a roster that plays to his strengths. And every damn year we say it's like, where's Australia? They're gonna do good. And then I think this is the first time where they actually do place really well. So. People have been talking about that in chat as well. They finally avoided the 8th place curse, so that's really good on them.
The bracket advantage for them this year, no longer facing the number 1 seeded team so early in here, really is good to see. You mentioned a team built around helping Emrek this year, kind of playing to the team's strengths overall. Have to mention, a player like Doomy coming out, pretty much getting the second highest performance on the roster this year. One of the oldest returning Australian players for this roster. Every single year comes back and performs exceptionally for them. So great to see. And then, of course, we can't really say it enough. Emrek FCing 11 out of 11 maps. That's really not something you see in this tournament very often. So, good on them. Very much good on them. And Australia going to be taking the 6th spot this year. Last up is our last of the teams that made their push into the top 8 this year. I mentioned half the top 8 teams are different this time around. The 5th seeded team is no different. Moving up from 9th to 5th is going to be South Korea, despite missing Flying Tuna this year. You really have to mention Karcher and worst HR player. This is a roster with some absolutely exceptional, team synergy overall. They have ridiculous placements. They play 2nd and 3rd on Hidden and Hard Rock, respectively. But Karcher playing 10 out of 11 maps with an 800,000 score average, as well as worst HR player with 8 out of 11 maps played in a 750,000 score average. South Korea, as a team as well, I talk about the team performance being a big indicator of their success this year without a player like Flying Tuna. They have the most second place map finishes of any team. At 5 out of 11 maps, they have the second place finish on, the next closest being 3. So this is a team that is good at multiple categories across their entire roster. I expect good performance.
I don't know how this happens every year. South Korea just comes up and brings up like 3 or 4 new players that we haven't really heard of too much, and then they just turned out to be insanely good. We've talked about Karcher a little bit, but I mean, worst HR player actually placing in the top 10 of all players, sitting at number 9 for his score contributions. And also someone we haven't really mentioned at all is Amamiya Kokoro, which is also right next to Karcher at 23 of all players. So really solid performances, honestly. I'd be pretty scared. I mean, I'm saying that about a lot of teams, but I mean, seriously, for this one, there's not a lot of precedent. I feel like some of these players we've seen in recent tournaments. I think most notably they did a good run in Corsace, right? But that's other than that, we haven't really heard much from them. So maybe some new beginnings happening here.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of uncertainty going into this year's qualifiers because I think there were, more teams than usual that made larger switches to their rosters as a whole. And because of that, it was a little bit more difficult to predict where teams were going to place. So it's good to see that these new, players on these rosters are really backing up the existing teams to push them to new heights. And South Korea did it this time around. Now, the 4 most coveted spots in the tournament, well, I should say the 4 most coveted. Top 3 is obviously the most coveted placements here, but the 4 teams this time around, we're going to start it off with our 4th seed, falling from 2nd, but still top 4. It's Team Canada. They had single-digit placements on every single map. You're going to see that for all of these top 4 teams here. 4th, 6th, 5th, and 5th from Nomad all the way down to Double Time. Again, cutting their placement or doubling their placement from last year, moving from 2nd to 4th, but still a very respectable performance from them this year, placing only out of the top 10 on Nomad 2 and Nomad 4. Very, very outstanding performance from Ryuk this year, playing 8 out of 11 maps with an 850,000 score average, including a double time 1 SS for the team this year. I believe that was actually the only double S on the map this year, or this time around. I'm going to fact check myself on that before I tell everyone that is the case. Yes, it was 2 double S's on that map. I will get to the other one later, but there was 2 double S's on D2, but one of them was Ryuk. Notably, Ryuk did not play double time 2 for this roster, and that was actually their worst double time map placement of the 3 of them. So a good performance overall. Xylus 971k on Hidden 1 as well, I should mention, the captain.
Yeah, Ryuk, Zudi, and Xylus placing fairly high up there in the player averages. I think Ryuk at 6, Zudi at 13, Xylus at 17. You'd kind of expect them to be up there. And I think, I don't think, it's weird looking at this, going from 2nd place to 4th place. I don't think they got worse. I think the other teams that we haven't talked about yet just got a hell of a lot better. I mean, it's not hard to guess which ones are ahead, but I mean, we'll talk about them once we get there. It's worth talking about.
Most certainly so. I think once we go over that 3rd place team, it's gonna be pretty evident who the top 2 are. So, if you've been keeping track of teams, there are only 3 teams left, and it is going to be the 3rd place team, Germany, placing in the exact same spot as last year. They're going to bring back the 3rd place. They took number 1 on the Nomad pool this year, despite placing 14th on Nomad 4. They were able to take numbers 1, 2, and 3 on Nomads 1, 2, and 3 respectively, and top 8 performances on almost every other map besides Double Time 1. White Cat once again popping off in the World Cups, the 5th best player overall in qualifiers this time around, playing 10 out of 11 maps, averaging 834,000 overall in qualifiers this time around, as well as Kriller. We've seen performances in Corsace this year and multiple other tournaments. It is very much reflected in this as well.
Yep, Kriller, top 3 of all players. I mean, it's not like it's not expected. We all know by now that Kriller's kind of insane, but yeah, I think it was pretty interesting today if you were following the player streams when they were playing the qualifiers and all that. I think the qualifier schedule was pretty late heavy, I guess. Like all the top teams are playing near the end, so you're watching the Germany lobby and they're like, damn, they're doing pretty good. and then suddenly an hour later you hear about the results from the 2nd place team, and it is Poland. And I just want to say that Malashevsky's average accuracy over all 11 maps is 99.7. How?
That is not normal.
And how many SSs does he have? I think he has 4 SSs, right?
Is it? It was either 4 or 3. I should let me roll through really quickly for everyone here just to let you know. So, a 99.9% FC on DT2, almost a double S, had the second double S on DT1, had an SS on Hidden 2, an SS on Nomad 4, and an SS on Nomad 2.
So somehow, after seeing Emmerich with the crazy match cost on that one, well, turns out Malashevsky is actually a little bit ahead. So congratulations to him for, I guess, for being the MVP of all the qualifiers. I mean, it's well deserved. These scores are kind of crazy, but I mean, that's just one player, right? One player is not enough to just shoot up a team and have them place top 2. There's so much more that went into that, and I think a lot of really good shared performances from a lot of players we haven't seen too much of. I think most notably Bartek returning from pooling, I think did pretty well. Expecting a lot of great things, I think, from most of the people on this roster, but a lot of relatively new names.
Yeah, definitely so. You know, you got to mention players like even Mustache and Rafis. You know, I think Mustache, obviously a player who, you know, has been here before. Rafis, of course, as well. Both of them coming out and doing exactly what they needed to do this year. They've both made some significant improvements. Rafis just continues to get better and better over time. And Mustache has, unironically, you know, not been talked about as much, but has struck me with some pretty significant improvement over the past few years. So, you know, or the past few months, even most notably. So, really cool to see Poland making their push for a top 3 spot this year. We haven't really seen them with a notable OWC performance since 2017 when they won the tournament. So maybe their biggest shot since then this year, qualifiers, if that's anything to go off of. Obviously missing Wubwolf as well. We should mention the first time that they are missing him for the roster this year. But that's going to be your second place spot. Pretty sure that narrows it down. I don't want to kill the hype or anything, but very unsurprisingly, and a very big congratulations once again to the United States. They will be your number 1 seeded team in the tournament. Something I should note that I don't think has been noted every other year we've done these seeding showcases. The United States has been the number 1 qualifying team for the OSU World Cup every single year that qualifiers has been instated in this tournament. I feel like that gives some ridiculous perspective to things. But again, they performed well across all maps. Number 1 in Hidden and Hard Rock. Number 3 in Nomad and Double Time, and unironically, the biggest roster changes that this team has had in a very long time. Normally, you don't see the United States switching out a whole lot of players. I believe 4 different players on this roster from last year. So some big shifts for them.
I think one quick thing I wanna point out is that there's a pretty significant difference in score or like seeding results between all of these teams. Usually it gets a little close, but once you get to Australia, every team after that, so between Australia, South Korea, Canada, Germany, Poland, USA, there are some quite large differences in score. So I think it's pretty interesting that there's kind of like a clear top-down view. You know, there was not really any question of how close maybe some of the seeding were, or if there was maybe a difference. You know, if I didn't find that miss, the seeding would have changed. No, there are like over 100k differences in score from all of these top placing teams, which is pretty interesting, I think. But that maybe says something about how dominant the USA still is, considering the crazy stuff we just talked about with Poland and Germany. So
Seriously, these are some good teams, and that really is just not saying enough. These, I really think all of the top 4 this year, everyone can be excited for what these 4 teams are going to be able to put up with performances this time around. And even all the top 8 teams, I think we're expecting some pretty impressive stuff out of them this year. As usual, all amazing rosters. Congratulations! That is going to conclude the teams showcase from qualifiers. The challenge bracket will be updated relatively soon, as well as our pick'ems, Halo Watchers pick'ems, rather, I should say. They are not ours. Halo Watcher runs them. Make sure to submit your picks into those for the round of 32 match-ups that will be happening next weekend. We will also have team country banners up as usual for all of the top 32 qualifying teams sometime either this weekend or next weekend. We will also have donations open for our Open Collective page, so we are accepting viewer donations to the prize pool this time around. So if you would like to donate and support the teams placing in this tournament, we are now accepting those through the Open Collective page. You can find more information about that in the Twitch chat. But again, as always, congratulations to our top 32 place teams. Best of luck to them in the bracket stage. They will all be facing off starting next weekend all the way through grand finals. But with the round of 32 starting, there's only one thing left that we need, and that's a map pool. And that's exactly what's going to be coming up next. We're going to take a very, very, very short break. Do not go anywhere. We'll be switching out our casters, getting everything switched over to that. And we'll start our round of 32 map pool showcase in just a few moments. Do not go anywhere.
All right, welcome back. It was indeed a very, very quick break. We've had a bit of a caster change, but unfortunately I'm still here. And I'm joined, again, by Dada. Welcome back.
Hi, can you believe this guy is still here?
Unbelievable. The guy that works on the Mappool is still here on the Mappool showcase. But we do have yet another new voice on the stream. We've got one of our test players. We've got Miles here.
Hello. Unfortunately, now I am here in Sayo's place to do this Mappool showcase.
A lot of unfortunate things going on here. But yeah, so quick recap, actually, because I completely forgot to mention this on the seed reveal. But in terms of map pool, I think the difficulty of that map pool landed in a pretty good place. The average score across all maps, all plays, was around 600k, which is pretty healthy. The highest score and most FC'd of any maps was DT1. And I mean, that was kind of expected, even though we made it very hard. And then also kind of expected, Hidden One being the lowest, and with the lowest amount of FCs at only 9, relatively to the DT1, which had around like 50. So yeah, I mean, a lot of differences in the maps. Hopefully, I think it evens out a little bit more for this round of 32 pool. I'm pretty excited to show it off. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay. Mr. Streamer, let's get started with Nomad 1. It is Katamari on the Wings by Melon Boy. And oh man, this slaps.
I love this song, man. Like, when Melon Boy, aka Fucho, I guess, if you remember one of his old names, they linked this song. We didn't really think that was like 100% Nomad winnable. But then, like, we look at this map, and, like, just everything just feels so nice. The song feels nice, the map feels nice. Like, this is just a joy to play. I know every time when, like, a top-tier team tries to play Nomad 1 in early stages, they always go like, this is a boring map, we can all see it, we can just ignore it or ban it or do whatever. But this one, I think they're really going to want to play through at least once or twice, because this is just a joy to play.
Yeah, and I think in a stark contrast to the Qualifiers Nomad 1, this one is going to be pretty comfortable to play. I think not many people are going to be very uncomfortable on the jumps of this map. It's pretty easy to flow to.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that, the contrast. I think a lot of people did not, well, maybe not a lot of people, but some people were not fans of Nomad 1 not being super conventional. That's all fixed. So this is a pretty conventional Nomad 1. Just the song, I think, is a little bit different. And,
we'll see.
I think we're good.
We'll see in a bit. The solo kind of deviates a little bit. Like, it has a couple of weird snaps, a couple of like maybe a little bit unconventional patterns, but the aim on this map is a lot more conventional. I feel it's very sharp. Not many like wide angles or spacing changes in between like circles of the same pattern. But yeah, like. I can't get over how much I like this song. Like it's so
good.
Nice.
It's so good. Finally, we have some Nomad 1s with good song choice. No flame.
I love anime, Alex. Please.
I guess this is a characteristic of Alex being one of our main poolers. No anime Nomad 1. It's gone. You'll never see it again.
We'll see it again eventually.
Not factual. Can't confirm.
Trust. Anime is not over. Anime is not cancelled.
No, it is. Kanye West said it.
That guy has been saying some not good things lately, so let's just ignore that one.
Okay, here's the part that Dada was mentioning earlier. Like, it's a little bit less conventional. You've got some sliders here. Might be tripped up if you are sight reading, but this is OWC. Probably shouldn't be sight reading, even if it is round of 32.
It's still pretty comfy to play, I think. It's I don't think it's too much to trip anyone up. This is round of 32 as well, so I mean there's quite a significant step down in difficulty from qualifiers. I think this should be immediately obvious when you just compare this map to the last couple of them that we've seen.
Yeah, it's a step down. Like every qualifier pool eventually ends up being a step down from qualifiers. I think ever since we began the format. But there's still, like, this has been a step up from previous round of 32 pools by a decent amount. So it's no longer like 4 ways, I think. Oh, I hope it's not 4 ways.
Really, I think it's gonna be pretty common to see 4 ways on at least some of these maps.
For a couple of teams, yes, but I think for the mid tier, like the 15 versus 17, or the 16 versus 17, or the 15 versus 18.
Actually, I think to expand on that point, I'll say this again. We're not at that map yet, but I said this last week. But in case you missed that, Nomad 5, which is normally the speed pick, is now in Fremont, and obviously that means you'll need modded players to play it, so it's going to be a lot harder to have your score on that. And No Mod 5 notoriously the last like 2 years has been kind of 4-way central in early stages, so I think that's one less map to have as almost like a guarantee high score on. But yeah.
I believe No Mod 5 was actually 8-weight in quarterfinals last year by USA and UK, and that's it's a little bit much for quarterfinals, so once again, another reason to move that speed map down to free mod.
Alright, moving on now to No Mod 2. It's an Undead Corpse song. Yeah.
You want to say anything about this map, Alex?
Yeah, I guess I can. I mean, it's an Undead Corpse song. I think this is a little bit of a more unconventional No Mod 2. This kind of stems from us wanting to diversify that slot a little bit. So this has, I wouldn't say it has some like crazy outlandish like tech elements or anything, but I think some of the patterning in this is something that you might not usually find in No Mod 2. I think there's a little bit of slider aim here and there. There was at one point a little bit of a kind of rhythm section in the middle, but it's been cut down a little bit for it to be more reasonable. But yeah, I mean it's a little bit more of a like a linear aim map with maybe a little bit of finger control, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, like oh god, no, not my dog again. Okay.
No, what the dog has to say? No.
My dog likes this map apparently because he's really vocal about it. That's because he likes the map, right? But yeah, there used to be a 1-9 section of this map that got cut down to just simplify the rhythms a little bit. Yeah, this is a cool map. I think like as an early stage No Mod 2, they usually all tended to be like a little bit more of a very simple map. You'd see a lot of people just like trying to do some sort of act battle. It would always be decided by who would miss on essentially nothing and ruin their team score. I think this one, like, you can miss on a lot more places. Like, the streams aren't 100% comfortable, but like they aren't super whack. So I think like it's just like a lot more of a difficult No Mod 2 to be consistent on, even though it's still pretty fun.
Oh, I will say, I'm not the best person to comment on this because I can't play No Mod 2, but I think this is a little bit on the higher end of stamina requirements, at least in terms of this stage. So maybe more so than usual for your round of 32 No Mod 2s, this maybe has a little bit more stamina. I can't confirm that myself because I'm a snail.
I can sort of confirm it, but it is 185, so for people who struggled with stamina last week, I think it would be a little bit of a step down. I think it would be a good program. So,
I'd just like to mention, we are segueing from a Dota No Mod 2 to an Azer No Mod 2, so I hope you guys are happy.
I can't believe these poolers are using the OWC tool, the OWC pool to actually push their maps onto like the public. This is so like lame.
I didn't really want to do this. This was kind of done as a last minute thing.
Neither of us wanted to do this, really.
It's kind of hard to have that many No Mod 2 mappers. I think it's not a style that people like to do. But don't worry, the ones that do are here. You'll find them later. But yeah, for now, unfortunately, you have to deal with my mapping. So.
Born to Mappool, forced to No Mod 2.
Oh boy.
Also, just a little comment before you segue into the next map. The start of this pool is a little bit like on the long side, but that is like very front loaded. You'll see the pool gets a lot more normal sizing, and a little bit shorter as it goes on.
All right, not quite yet though. This one pretty long. No Mod 3, and I mean it's a K-Kip Hatsuki Yura alt pick, and yeah, I think this is quite a banger.
I think anyone who's ever heard of K-Kip and his mapping knows that it's synonymous with Hatsuki Yura. And
yeah, half of that statement was a little bit redundant to say. It's a K-Kip map, you know the artist.
Like, this is yet another one, but I think everyone will enjoy this style of No Mod 3. It's very... It's a style that, you know, people have gotten used to a little bit, but I think it's still very pleasant to play. Like, all of the changes in spacing and the changes in direction feel very comfortable, and nothing really feels like it's really pushing you that hard, even though it like because of the way they happen, it feels like very fitting to the song, but it doesn't feel like you're making some like super sharp turn to the right to actually like hit a note. It's more like just you play along with the song. It's very nice. I think the person here who is like heavily involved in playtesting can attest to, like, we had a couple of different choices for this slot, but we ended up landing on this. These used to be a round of 16 map, but like because of the difficulty of the last one and this one combined, we kind of shifted it across.
Yeah, well, I guess the raw difficulty of this and the aforementioned one from round of 16 are pretty similar. I think that this style of mapping is just a little bit friendlier for round of 32, so we ended up sticking with this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a very safe map. I don't think you're going to find much to complain about or anything that's unconventional with this. I think it's a pretty good pick for just about everybody. I think also in early stages, I think Nomad 3 lately has been one of the more popular picks, so we think you'll like this one a lot. Also, not that related, but speaking of doing things out of necessity, relating to my previous pick, I think this is one of like 12 maps I've hit sounded in the World Cup. So, yeah.
Yeah, something we found out is that K-Kit is like colorblind, which doesn't have anything to do with hit sounds, but he used that as one of the reasons why he couldn't hit sound this map.
Oh, I think that was for combo colors.
Oh, he put it in the same sentence, so we just kind of assumed it was
could be both.
But yeah, this is yet again, I'm about to reiterate this, but since there was a common complaint with the qualifier spool, this is the front-loaded like length of the pool. It's very, it's lengthy just at the start, and then we'll see like a lot more of a regression to the mean by the end.
This is the last 4-minute map you're seeing. Even the tiebreaker. The tiebreaker is actually TV size.
So true.
Finally.
We actually put in Kickback by Kenshi Yonezu as the tiebreaker because we know we all love like seasonal anime and Chainsaw Man, and it's all TV size map by form. It's right there.
Thank God, OWC Pool is finally reflecting the songs that I want to see in the Mappool.
I love anime. I regret saying that already.
Holding that to you.
That's a clip it, chat. Clip it.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see how much this test consistency this kind of drags on. It's a lot of the same obligatory Fairy Rage smoke replay. But yeah, it's gonna be the last one of the lengthy maps.
It's the last one where we run out of words.
I've got words, trust. Okay, I think we're going to be seeing 3 score brackets for this map. You're either going to be seeing FCs from people who are good at this type of map, you're going to see 600Ks from people who can play this but will miss once, and you're going to be seeing 350K from people who can't play this type of map. I don't know if it will deviate from that much, honestly.
Safe bet, Miles. Thank you.
No problem. The map finished.
Wow.
Thanks. Alright, so for Nomad 4, this was actually different until, I think, last week or something. Some slight changes we're doing with this, so we ended up going with an existing Jazag map. So technically, this is the first non-custom in OWC. You're going to see plenty more of those. But yeah, this is a really, really pretty graveyarded map, I believe. Actually, maybe this was ranked recently.
This was ranked.
It was ranked.
Yeah. At the time, it was graveyarded. But yeah, I mean, this is just going to be a treat to play with. This is just an example of, like, you know, why custom something when you have something this good that fits perfectly. This is going to be a really fun time.
Yeah, the first non-custom map in OWC officially for this iteration. But then another map by Jeremy Zag, Mr. Zag here. Common and like very appreciated force in the like community tournament scene for Nomad 4s and tech maps in general. His maps are just very nice, very coherent, and like this is like kind of like a new-ish age tech mapper where they've been getting more and more representation over community tournaments, so we decided to put him in. This map might be a little bit more on the harder side of the pool, like just a smidge, but it simultaneously is a very fun map, very engaging to play. Unlike some of the earlier Nomad 4s and some previous iterations where they perhaps were a little bit like very easy, like very automatic for you to combo, this one gives you a very ample possibility to miss, like in a lot of patterns here.
Especially in this section coming up that has a lot of very long and fast sliders that will probably trip some people up on their first attempts on this map. But another thing I'd like to mention is that this map has been used a lot recently in some community tournaments, so our players who are very active in those are probably going to be familiar with this map. I believe it was in Perennial earlier this year, along with a few others. OCL if you're into that, and ADT, it was in Hard Rock recently.
I don't think it was in Perennial, but I do think it was represented in both the other times you mentioned. Yeah,
It's definitely in Perennial.
It's time for some drain snakes.
No, because I did the replay for it in Perennial.
Whoa.
Snakes.
Pretzel.
Small
Nice.
intestine.
Intestine. L. Yeah, remember when you play this map that the section has a lot of slider aim, including the less conventional side of slider aim, where you actually have to aim the whole slider instead of just like aiming the body and kind of half-assing the slider in. So, yeah, very tricky section there. I think we'll see a lot of breaks for the people who aren't 100% in tune with the map.
And I'll say this a third time in case you missed it. Another time, there's Nomad 5 does exist, but it is in free mods. So we're gonna go straight to Hidden. So Hidden 1, Paradigm by Moth and Flake, which is a pretty interesting collab. Yeah, Floth or Flop H.
Flow Philippines.
This
They
is
are
not,
making it
this
all
is
back?
not Flop though. This is pretty enjoyable to play.
Yeah, this is a map that's gone through a couple of iterations. I believe we had a part of the pooling process was kind of dedicated to like sort of fixing the middle section here, because it used to be a lot worse. It used to be very uncomfortable, very like unintuitive. But we fixed it a little bit, so now I think this map is just one of the.
I think we'll leave that version of the map to like the Iceberg World Cup lore.
I mean, maybe they'll like put it in the description or something, just so you can experience what it's like to be very int for like 30 seconds in the solo.
Yeah, the test player lobby. Everyone just missed there. Like, if you looked at the leaderboard, it was just all red at this one part at like the 2/3 mark.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most well-received maps in the pool after we changed it. Like, it's just a pleasure to play, really. Like, we've seen Moth a lot over previous OWCs, and I think for good reason. The guy just doesn't really miss. He's just very consistent, provides very cool, like gameplay, dynamic gameplay, which is also like not horse hockey essentially. Like, you can hit it very well.
This is the section that was heavily nerfed, so I don't know if you can loosely imagine what it was like before then, but maybe one day we'll have to show that one.
It'll be next year in Hard Rock, don't worry.
Oh boy.
Song choice for the Nomad 1 Hidden 1 aims this year. For this pool in particular, very nice, I think.
Yeah, honestly, we talk about that a lot. I just want to clarify that it's kind of we're kind of joking when we talk about like not having anime or anything. It's pure banter. Like, these mappers pick the songs that they want, and if they're good, which they always are, evidently, because these are pretty good. You know, we just do something with them. So
We'll see.
I just wanted to clarify that because we haven't yet.
in due time we will see the anime.
Oh yeah, it's there. But I think again with this pool we landed in a pretty good mix of song genre variety. Obviously we've only seen 5 maps, but Yeah.
The map comes to a close here. I just want to point out that the hidden one last week was the lowest average by far. This one, I think, will be very different. I think this map will see a lot of FCs.
Absolutely.
Comfortable. All right, we're going back to some old tourney maps, actually. If I'm not wrong, this was an old tourney map by Nissan, I think for Coffee Hispanic?
I have no clue.
One
honestly.
of those.
Been around though.
Yeah, but this is not a custom. You probably know this one. It's actually ranked by now.
It is. I think all of the existing maps we have in this pool are ranked. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure.
I swear this was a tourney custom, and I can't find it in the tags anywhere. But anyway, maybe I'm just wrong. It's something that we're doing a little bit of. We intend on reusing some tourney customs that were more local tourneys, so any like regional tourneys or closed rank tourneys, or anything that like the vast majority of players just did not get to play. You know, someone already did the custom mapping, so we might as well present it to a larger audience. I can't fully confirm whether this is actually a tourney pick or not. I just have the memory.
I don't think so. I think this is just a map you wanted to map.
Yeah, well, regardless, you should probably be familiar with this one. It's one of the best A-rate maps we've seen in a little bit. It's very consistent, very enjoyable to play.
Very comfortable. The streams, unlike the qualifier map, where we saw a lot of breaks on the streams, like the aim was just very intense and it shifted around a lot. This one is like, the streams are very basic, with one turn at most, and it's very intuitive. So people won't be missing on the streams that much. I think this is primarily a map we'll see misses on aim, with a couple of misses on triples maybe at the end also, but that's a little bit tougher.
I think this is kind of your quintessential area hidden tourney map that is probably going to be picked by any team that is competent on this.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't really get the tourney feeling from playing this. This doesn't feel like tourney core, as Dada calls it. I like the term, I'm going to coin it, so... This feels like a really good, solid A-rate map.
Yeah, there's not really much to say. Like, again, this is an existing map. It's not a map we specifically requested for this. Like, for A-rates, especially, I think that's very important, because a lot of the time you just, like, kind of make an A-rate, and eventually it becomes a map you're wanting to use in your tourney, but it's not always that case at the start, so you kind of end up forcing a lot of things into it that it doesn't necessarily like take well, so it ends up feeling a little bit forced. I don't think this is the case here. I think this is just a map that's very nice, very consistent, and naturally maps the song without anything kind of forcing its way onto it.
Here are the streams aforementioned. They show up here at this end section.
Very basic streams, as you can see, very like, one turn, solid, like normal gradient, doesn't shift. Yeah. The ending is a little bit tougher than the rest of the map, but it's not by a huge amount.
That's okay. I think you're gonna see that a little bit often. I think it's funny when the ending is hard. It's very entertaining to watch.
It's more fun when you miss than when you don't.
Exactly.
For us, not for you. Screw
so
you.
The Hard Rock pool. Let's take a look at Hard Rock 1, which was actually made as the Nomad 4 for this round. But we took a look at this and we're like, hold on, this is actually really fun to play with Hard Rock. So I think we managed to fit it in the pool a little bit. We had a little bit of like Hard Rock balance issues with the other Hard Rock map in the pool, so you kind of get a streamy tech pick as Hard Rock 1, and it's really fun. But yeah, this is just full-blown tech. It was intended as a tech pick. It was reworked a little bit to fit this slot, but yeah, I mean, it's also, I think, Eli's first OWC map as well.
Eli's first OWC map used to be a little bit more techy. We kind of cut back on that as we transitioned into Hard Rock, but it's still very... You can feel the tech Like that's such a blanket term, but you can feel it. You look at this map, you're like, tech. I love tech. But yeah, this is a very fun hard rock. I think, unlike a lot of people kind of complain about Qualifier's hard rock one, where it just felt like a little bit too streamy, maybe a little bit too conventional even. Like this one is a lot more like it encompasses a lot more skill sets, but it doesn't try to force it. I think it's again a map where it just feels very natural, very very nice with the song.
Most importantly, this does not really have aim. This was not intended to be an aim pick. It's something that's going to be pretty common with hard rock pools. There's not necessarily always going to be an aim hard rock. Precision kind of fits that, we feel like, so this is just not at all the focus of this map. But don't worry, if you like hard rock game, there's going to be some other things to play that you'll see soon.
Yet again, this might feel a little bit tougher than the rest of the pool because it just has like a little bit more of more skill sets that it tests essentially. But those skill sets are pretty like well balanced around the difficulty of the pool. It just might feel a little bit tough because it tests so many. So yeah, hopefully you just have fun playing this map because I think that's the first thing you try to prioritize when balancing it.
Yeah, moving on to the other hard rock now, and it's something a lot more comfy, I think, for everybody. Let's take a look at Outer Science, and here's your precision pick, CS5. It's got very standard, structured CS5 aim. I think people will enjoy this one.
Yeah, we took the aim pick and we combined it with the precision pick. So our Hard Rock 2 Outer Science, custom by Istre. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah, Istre, also known as Alphabet, I believe. Another mapper that does a lot of customs. He has a very versatile skill set map-wise, and he wanted to do this precision pick, so we let him. And as discussed before, we had a little bit of a balance issue when it got done. Like, this map ended up a little bit too aimy, but that was kind of a happy accident as we moved the LE map to Hard Rock 1, so this ended up being like a more aimy version. Like the aim, where the aim concentrates essentially in Hard Rock 1.
Yeah, it is fairly comfortable. Most of the playtesters have much issue playing this map. I think it's going to be something we see picked a lot.
Yeah, in spite of the star rating, the starting of this ended up looking kind of scary, but the map felt very comfortable.
Star rating is just spooky when map pulling nowadays. So many changes just make so many slots seem super inflated. Don't even ask me about DT1.
Oh dude, it was very fun to see the star rating we were kind of like looking at for the whole like pulling process just end up completely shifted in the last rework. That was very fun.
Like two reworks ago when speed became like the highest star rating in your pool when it used to be kind of in the middle. Suddenly you had quarterfinals DT maps being like 7.3 stars. Like what?
Star rating.
Pretty funny that that map had the highest average score as well. So you know, you could say it's the easiest map in the pool, even though it's highest star rating.
Yeah, this is a nice song. Like, Outer Science, I think this is technically anime, if you want to count Mekaku City factors as anime, which you could. But, yeah, so here's sort of anime in your pool. Congrats. It is a cover, though, by Matsuki, so not fully.
Anime, no. Pretend.
I like this map a lot. It's kind of reminiscent of a lot of older picks that used to be like this, like a lot of like old like 2013 like Vocaloid maps. I kind of get the same vibes when I play this.
Yeah, there's a couple of maps of this where they're a little bit older. Like I believe there's the old like Sky Surgers. There's I wanna say the Hello SCV as well. That's one mapper that comes to mind when this song comes up. Yeah,
Yeah,
we like anime.
All right.
yes, we do.
I think this double time pool has undergone a couple of changes. I think this DT1 is also quite a recent change, but here's another existing map for your DT1. And yes, it's 10.3. Look at it, it's 10.3.
Oh, in its glorious form, the AR is 10.33 in the bottom of your screen. Yes, for the first time I think ever, we have a 10.3 pick in the first round. And is that good or bad? We have no idea. We'll let you decide.
It's not like we're scaling up from here, it's just that like the AR on this just kind of feels like it's right. It is a very high BPM pick. There's not really much bursts in this. It's 270 BPM map. The thing is, this type of map, we've just talked about this in qualifiers, this type of map teams are really comfortable on. So I think in order to compensate for that, you kind of have to make it a little bit harder. So while yeah, some people will probably not like the fact that it's 10.3 so early on, we also have picks later that are not. So no worries there, and you're not going to see anything higher than 10.3 over the whole tourney as well. So
yeah,
it's important details to add here. Map is still fun. It's pretty much exactly what you want the DT map to be in this slot. So
playtesters liked it. Also, just keeping in mind that because this is a 10.3 map, we are going to do some more older mapping styles in the following maps, I think. So yeah, it will be balanced, just maybe a little bit more towards the extremities. So like one map swings a little bit more to the extremity that way, and then we'll bring it back with another map being a little bit more extreme the other way.
Yeah, this is just like an AR 10.3 competence test, I think, in its purest form. Got very simple aim throughout the map. I think if you're able to play AR 10.3 at 270 BPM on short jumps, you're gonna do well on this map.
Yeah, and you might say, oh, this is like a speed map, this is really like a T1, it's 270 and 10.3 with bursts, but just wait a little bit.
yeah, funnily enough, actually, just to extend the starting thing, you'd expect this to be the highest. It's actually not. There's even a worse offender that we'll see later, which I have no idea how it's even that high, but yeah, we'll see that pretty soon. I think, Dada, you should probably talk about the next two maps, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Funny story. I used to have a map here, and then I killed it. Like, I took it out back and just took it to the farm upstate because the pool was unbalanced, and we received a lot of qualifier complaints, specifically about DT2 and DT3 feeling very similar. And this was a pool where that felt exactly like on brand. Like, it was very clear that it didn't really work. So I decided to kill my map with tears in my eyes, but it did happen. So instead, we have here Old Core. We have a very old map. I believe this is from 2008, not from 2009. If I ignore this, from a V2B set. And it's an alt map at CS6, the Air 8.
It's a good example of maps that you won't really see much in pools. We wanted to have some of that, and the DT pool in full context kind of allows us to do that, so here we go. This is also kind of a direct result from feedback, right? This wasn't planned. Like, this was just originally going to be an entirely different map, so...
Yeah, we had a panic attack on Thursday, we switched the map on Friday, and then we made the replay, I think, on Saturday, very early. So...
Yeah, I checked the pool before this, and I saw this map got changed, and I saw it was an ignore this map on a V2B set, and I was like, oh my god, only Dada would do this.
It wasn't me. Okay, I suggested a change, but the person who actually found this map was Sayo, so if you like the map, you dislike the map, you can go to sayo@gmail.com, which is not his email, but and just leave your complaints there.
Also, this is probably easier for the DTs, but there are so many odd patterns here that I think if you're not really paying attention, you can very easily miss. So
yeah, no, this is a really easy map, but you can miss anywhere. Like, you take your focus off the screen for like 1 second, 1 microsecond, you miss on an overlap, you miss on like a weird kind of like wiggle pattern. Like, you can really just flop on this map very hard if you just take a little like break on your focus. So yeah.
Alright, now for a little more full context on the DT pool, the DT3, the map by Mo. It's almost a Senya song. It's an Autobahn remix. And I mean, this map is kind of doing everything. This clocks in at 240, so it's not quite a crazy speed pick, but you know, there's a decent amount of finger control in this. There's a decent amount of just overall speed in this, maybe a little bit of stamina. So having a traditional DT2 in context with this map, I think, created exactly the type of like feedback problem that was given to us. So that's why we made the change. So we have this map here that's kind of meant to fill both slots, and I think it does so quite successfully.
Yeah, this map went through like a lot of iterations. Maybe you don't know this, Miles, because you don't have access to the actual mapping like channels, but this used to be the DT1, and then it got like remapped into a DT3, and then it got like tweaked a little bit more into like being more bursty. Like, this map has gone through a plethora of changes, and it ended up in a place where playtesters liked it. Like, it's quite fun. It's been a cool speed test, and yeah, and it's also sort of the reason why the pool ended up like very extremely balanced, because this kind of like mixes very specific elements of DT2 and DT3. So it's kind of like a stamina test, but it's not really. But it's like it drains your stamina a lot, so you didn't really feel comfortable putting like a proper like stamina DT in the pool as well as this. So that's how the pool ended up as it was.
I think the contrast between all the maps in the DT pool is really good this week. You have the DT1 that is AR 10.3 without many bursts. You have the DT2 that is CS6 AR8 alt from 2008, and here you have your, I think, more typical speed pick in the DT3 that, as you said, kind of combines some of the elements that you see from the DT2 and DT3 slots into one map.
Yeah, so you see a lot of bursts here. Bursts you didn't see in DT2, obviously, because the whole map is like sort of 150 BPM, if you're counting, or the DT1 you saw a couple of streams, but this one has a lot of the bursts, so you'll see that here. If you're not a speed team, you will maybe try to ban this. If you're a speed pilled tap cell, like some of the other teams we have in this tournament, you will try to prioritize this as a pick.
All right, let's get into free mods. Free mod 1 here. It's a custom by Alden on a pretty interesting Vocaloid song. I think this is quite similar to the Hard Rock 2 map that we have, both in music choice and mapping style. But here's more of your, I guess, like, aimier pick, I suppose.
Yeah.
We didn't change the diff name. I don't know if we needed to do that, but
It's still I'm in your walls. Oh no!
I'm pretty sure it was uploaded like that. It's fine. It fits the song. It's thematic.
Yeah,
It really is.
So this is a free mod grid where like you will see a lot of the patterns here are balanced towards like giving hidden players a little bit of a challenge, because generally this type of map is like
Real quick, because this is a Hard Rock we played. The AR on this is 9.
yeah.
And the stacks are perfect on hidden.
That's one of the reasons why it's a little bit tougher. Also, there's a couple sections like the start, I believe, have like a really weird, not weird necessarily, but like it's a perfectly stacked different rhythm kind of deal, where you'll kind of need to read under your cursor, which is always a little bit of a challenge for some hidden players who aren't really super fluent with the mod. But despite the perfect stacks, I know a lot of people have issues with those. This is a really fun map, I think. Unlike a lot of maps that are like free mod 1, a lot of aim, kind of like in round of 32, maybe the aim isn't really challenging, so you don't really have fun. This one is very fun, I believe.
for mod's sake, in the test player lobbies, at least the ones that I played, the hidden and the hard rock scores on this were very balanced. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more variance, I guess, between who's actually comfortable on the map, rather than what mod is more comfortable.
I want to briefly talk about this because we didn't get a chance to, and this is the first free mod pick of the World Cup. So there's something I think it doesn't really concern this pool. This pool, I think the free mod is well balanced. Something that we talk about a lot, or historically have talked about a lot for free mods, is whether one mod is balanced with the other. I think we kind of just stepped away from that being a necessity sometimes because of the free mod rules in OWC, where you kind of necessitate one hidden and one hard rock anyway. Kind of feel like it doesn't really matter if one of them is harder than the other because both teams have to make the same sacrifice. So you might see some picks in free mods that are not exactly balanced in terms of, you know, is it easier on hidden or is it easier on hard rock. There are definitely some picks that will swing in one way or the other. This one doesn't. I don't think any of the picks in this pool do, but it's just a warning for later on because it's just a philosophy change that we didn't really get to talk about yet.
Yeah, you will try to see, like, we'll try to make it so that the free mods, like, any mod isn't, like, specifically outside of the difficulty range of the pool, like, too much, but some mods will be tougher than others at points.
Alright, this is where No Mod 5 goes. So if you've been following for the 4th time, No Mod 5 is now a free mod pick. So you are going to need to play hidden and hard rock on this. So here's free mod 2, Golden Days by Fergus. And oh my god, this is fun. This is so fun.
Playtester favorite right here.
Putting speed maps in free mod allows us to do some things like this. And this is like everybody's favorite map. It's so much fun. Again, this is a hard rock. We played the No Mod AR, and this is 9.1. It's a little bit low, but it's not too dense. The CS is also quite low on this at No Mod. I think it's CS3. So this somehow actually is, I would say, even easier on hard rock than it is on hidden, which is kind of weird.
I don't agree with you because I'm not a hard rock player, but I do think that this on hard rock, as you're seeing it right here, makes it feel like it's very, very hard. I think it's a little bit of a misleading kind of thing where it's not actually this hard, just very, very fast.
Yeah, so this kind of solves a problem that I've been talking about a lot, where early No Mod 5 is kind of just, do you have the speed to play these relatively low BPM bursts? Yes? Okay. Have an SS. This map just... Not just this map in general, this entire speed slot will kind of attempt to throw that out, adding a lot more gameplay elements. Obviously adding mods is pretty big. You know, I don't think you're going to see 8 ways on speed maps anymore. It's going to be pretty rough. You'll need to find some players that are maybe more specialized, you know, like not... So some of these picks might be pretty tough on hidden. I mean, this one is not too bad because the CS is so low, but I mean... You know, for a speed pick, the AR being AR 9.1 can maybe feel a little bit low. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a little bit harder. This also, we mentioned this is a hard rock replay, so the aim looks a lot worse than it really is. But even then, it feels pretty natural. I would say even with hard rock, this kind of just ends up feeling like a normal map.
Yeah. Keep in mind that you can still no mod this. You just need a couple of players on your team to take the plunge into the mods. So, like... You can still treat this as a No Mod 5, but your team in general, as an average, is going to have a tougher time, and they're going to need to be a little bit more flexible and have a couple more modded players, or players that are fluent with mods and also at speed. So,
I think the AR10 pref players might actually prefer to go HR on this, actually. Because you guys mentioned that the hidden wasn't really too bad, but at least personally in my playthroughs, I found that it gets a little bit dense sometimes during some of the more bursty sections. The aim on that can't really be understated, I think. So teams with AR10 pref players might try to overmod, even though they will still have to have a hidden player at least.
Yeah, there's a lot of valid ways to approach this as a team, I think. Just depending on who you have. You can also just run 2 no mods on this, and it's pretty free. It's not too hard, but if you want to have that AR10 and you want to have hard rock, then you also now have to aim. So that's a pretty big difference. And now there's one more map. Again, there's going to be one more map in the free mod pool because we moved that one to free mod. So here's free mod 3, and here's your pretty typical anti-mod, free mod, funny mod numbers, Into the Unknown by Alviaria. And here's your CS5 AR8 map. It's relatively low BPM. Yeah. This went through a couple of iterations as well, but I guess this also has a little bit of rhythm complexity, but not too much. It's pretty straightforward to play.
I think you will see a lot of flow aim on this map specifically. Like, there's a couple of streams, a couple of cut streams, a couple of like weirdly turning streams, wiggles. Like, overall, this kind of feels like a little bit hard rock favorite, I want to say, but like the turns are very very tricky regardless of what mod you pick. And yeah, maybe the only thing that's a little bit uncommon for a free mod of this type is how it's very very low BPM, like 148. It's basically an alt map, but it doesn't really feel like one because of the spacing of the streams, how the rhythms kind of get constructed. But it's an interesting map to try and figure out.
I was gonna say, if you think about it, this is kind of just the opposite of the last map.
That's true. Last map was fast, low CS, maybe a little bit higher AR. This one is a very slow, aimy, small circles, AR8 kind of deal. Also, the song is very nice.
Cursor control, especially with those cuts, can be pretty brutal. If you miss one of those cuts, you are likely going to miss the rest of the pattern, at least if you're on hidden.
I remember, this is the last map in the pool before the tiebreaker.
Here's some guesses in the chat for what tiebreaker we're using. I think it's United.
Again?
I would never.
I'm
gonna stop that bit right now. It's not gonna happen.
Oh, come on!
Dude, no!
All right. Well,
It's
here's
not
your
play.
round of 32 tiebreaker by Iljaz and Kawari. Here's a pretty interesting song. This was actually a completely different tiebreaker at one point, and didn't really work out. So Iljaz just went, "It's
I miss
okay. I'll map another one," and they did. So I would feel like this one fits a lot better. I think this is quite a traditional tiebreaker in terms of aim. Not too much in terms of speed on this, but it is 200 BPM at some parts, so yeah.
Can someone enlighten me as to why the diff name is called Collaboration?
Probably a song thing.
That doesn't sound like a very fun thing to collab.
Maybe Iljaz forgot that he had mapped the tiebreaker and decided to map another, and that's why it's Dementia.
Anyway, yeah, as Alex said before, this used to be a very different map. We kind of ended up bidding that in playtesting. Like, people really didn't like it, so Iljaz, the kind soul he is, decided to map just another tiebreaker, just from scratch, and it ended up on this. It's nice. It's nice. It's pretty good.
Yeah, this map's pretty good.
I don't know if this map or this song has been mapped in standard before.
I can check really quickly.
Yeah. When I first heard this, I immediately thought of another remix of the song in other rhythm games. I don't think we've actually gotten to play this song on standard yet, if I'm not wrong.
This is not mapped in standard, at least not in ranked.
Well, yeah, I mean, as we kind of just we can just kind of let this play out. We talked about this map, pretty much everything that there is to say about this map. It's pretty good, so just enjoy the treat. While you're watching that, though, I mean, I think the pool as a whole, this being the first complete pool, I think might have some or like the first hint of changes that we've been talking about a lot this year. Notably, I think the DT pool and the speed slot, pretty drastic changes. So I don't know. We'll see how people like it. A lot of these are going to be a little bit more experimental, right? So just feel free to let us know if you think it works out. If you think it doesn't, we do listen. So yeah.
Yeah. Like as usual, I think round 32 is a little bit more of a conventional, like a little bit easier pool in general. Like you can't really explore too many like weird aspects or like try to change things too much. But I think the direction is very clear. Like, we tried some changes that are very specific, like the speed not being shifted, or like even a couple of the funnier like DT balancing decisions. And yeah, I think going forward with the tournament, like it'll be very exciting to see how people react to some of the changes if we make to like the slots, or maybe like the changes we make to the maps that exist in certain slots. I think would be very interesting to see the reaction to that, and consider this like a little bit of an appetizer, I suppose. How crazy would it have been if intercambing types were smoked Chile in the break and they didn't qualify? That would be kind of sad.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, I have dead air to fill.
Okay.
Miles, how's it going, man? How was your day?
I mean, it was pretty good. I got a lab done before this. I'm just sitting here watching intercamping. Not assess this map, unfortunately. He would have gotten even lower AC if it were the older tiebreaker, actually, because that map was
much lower.
That map was something, and I look forward to seeing that one in the rank section sometime soon. But this one's pretty nice too. Boom, air filled.
Let's go. We did it. All right, but that's it's gonna be the whole pool though. So here's your round of 32 pool. Should be pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, and as always, we value your feedback. If you're a player in this tournament and you have to play this pool, go into the Mappool feedback section of the OWC Discord and leave your thoughts on it. We value every single thought. We've changed things in this pool to accommodate some of the feedback we got for qualifiers, and we'll do it again if it needed. So, yeah.
I also think this has a healthy mix of like traditional stuff that isn't changed too much. So, you know, if you like the tourney meta or if you like existing maps or whatever, you have a lot of that. And it has a little bit of changes. Not too much that it's so off-putting. It's not all different. It's still familiar. I think this should be a nice way to approach the pool this week. But yeah, that's gonna do it for us. We've been here for a while. It's been a long stream. So yeah, I mean, any closing thoughts on the pool, guys?
I like it. I think the pool was nice. I think I wouldn't have had a clear conscience if I put my map in this pool. I think it would have been like I would have felt guilty of being like making the pool unbalanced. So I'm glad I committed murder, I guess, on my own map.
Yeah, I think a lot of this pool is a bit of a breath of fresh air. I mentioned earlier there are going to be changes this year. You guys have all heard that a lot, but here I think is really the first time you're going to be seeing it in action. We've got the speedier map down in free mod. Got some more alternative choices like the techier styled map in Hard Rock 1, the DT2 being from 2008. I'm sure there might be people in this chat who weren't even born then, but yeah, I think we're gonna see a lot of different thoughts on this. I think overall though it should be quite positive.
All right, well, that about wraps it up. Thanks for joining me, and thanks as well to all the viewers who stopped by and took a look at the seed reveal and the Mappool showcase. We hope to see you again next week when the matches start in round of 32. Matchups should already be available, I believe, on that bracket link, so make sure you show up and enjoy the matches next week, guys. Bye-bye.